Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is NBATierz. Today I have kind of a different video for us. This is going to be the first time we're not doing an actual tier list or anything in any capacity. Today I just kind of want to discuss the draft that went down yesterday. Obviously at the first round, second round is later today. Very eventful, very interesting. I'm just kind of going to share my thoughts on some of these selections, some of these moves made by these teams, give my thoughts on the prospects that were drafted. I don't. Last week, I actually did work on a video where I kind of looked into each of the lottery prospects at least, looked into their stats, reacted to their highlights, and I kind of did a tier list where I kind of ranked them based off of their ceilings and floors, kind of averaged it out. It was kind of a tedious video, and it ended kind of up on the long side, so I decided not to upload it just because it was, 2-ish hours. Let me know if you want me to drop that video. But yeah, that was kind of my first introduction to a lot of these prospects. Obviously, I've heard of a lot of the names, hadn't seen them play much. I don't have the greatest, I'm no scout. I don't have the greatest eye for talent. It's always hard to predict these type of things, but I kind of gave my thoughts, and as we go through here, I'll give my thoughts and kind of reiterate some of the things that I was saying and just what I think these players' ceilings and realistic just expectations can be. That being said, Zachary Ricochet goes number 1 to the Hawks. That's I don't know, man. That's crazy to me. This is crazy to me. I need to know what Atlanta's doing because they have DeAndre Hunter, they have Jalen Johnson. Those are capable wings, and then you have Clint Capella, an aging Clint Capella, a declining Clint Capella at the center. You would think Alex Sarr was their pick, and I know Alex Sarr, didn't want to go to the Hawks. I believe it was reported. I don't even think he worked out for them, but at the end of the day, that's just not something that the player can control. You draft that man, you stick him next to Trae Young. I think that's a pretty good look for them. But if they're thinking if he really just doesn't want to be here in a few years, he's going to end up leaving anyway after his rookie contract. I get it. You don't want to waste your top pick on someone who's not going to stay. But Zachary Ricochet, I don't know if this is the guy. I think he's a good player, and I think out of a lot of these players, out of a lot of them, his absolute floor is the highest just because at bare minimum, this is going to be a 3-and-D guy, a guy who can hit his jump shots and play some versatile defense on the wing and be very good in that role. But at the number 1 pick, and I know there's kind of a stigma around this draft class as being weak. I never subscribe to those opinions just because it doesn't have this generational talent or just someone that's going to be, the pure cornerstone of a franchise. Doesn't mean the draft is weak. I think a lot of these players are going to contribute. And we saw just like the Boston Celtics, right? You need a lot of guys to just do their role, play their part. Not every draft pick is going to be some amazing talent. And that's okay. I still think every draft damn near right is going to produce an All-NBA, an All-Star level player. And this draft is no different. Someone in here is going to be, very good at basketball. And a lot of them are going to be good at basketball. And that's fine. Zachary Ricochet, at his absolute ceiling, I believe in the video I did have him as a better shooting version of Mikal Bridges. His absolute best he can be that I can see him panning out to be. A very good off-ball scorer and just an even better shooter than a Mikal Bridges. Obviously, he's bigger, so maybe there's a lot more defensive upside as well. This guy just can't dribble or create his own shot is my thing. And so, I don't know. If I'm the Hawks, even at the wing, if you didn't want to go the Alex Sarr path because of, him not wanting to go to Atlanta, I'm not sure if this is the best wing in this draft, and I'll get to that later. But that's how I think about the Hawks. I really don't know what they're doing in terms of direction. I don't know if they're trading DeJounte Murray or even Trae Young. I don't know if they're shopping him. I don't know what's to be done with Clint Capella. Maybe they just trust in Big O. Onyeka Okongwu, and they'll just move off Capella, start Big O. I don't know what they're doing with DeAndre Hunt. I don't know what they're doing at all, and neither do they. Um, but here with the second pick, of course, we did get the Wizards selecting Alex Sarr. Good pick. I actually, funnily enough, was very conflicted with Alex Sarr because I see the potential and upside while at the same time seeing how he could just pan out to be, just a solid big. I think for his floor, I put him as like, yeah, that we just mentioned him actually, funnily enough, a Clint Capella who can, like at his absolute worst floor, he's going to be a Clint Capella who can hit down like a mid-range jumper. Like can hit some close and mid-range jumpers, which from what I've seen, he looks very comfortable in that area. So we'll see if that translates. He shot like 30% from three. That's actually not that bad for a player at his position in the league he was playing in, right? It's actually pretty solid. There's some if he really commits to working on his mechanics, getting his shots up. If the Wizards develop him well, which but if they do, I can definitely see that being a tool in his game later on. First couple years, maybe, maybe not. Alex Sarr is a good pick for them. They're the Wizards. I mean, there's not much going on there. I did see they traded Denny for, I believe, yeah, this 14th. No, yes, for this 14th pick. Um. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what Alex Sarr pans out to be. I think for his ceiling, I kind of had like a Bam in mind, kind of that tier of a player. And I don't know if he'll ever be as versatile as Bam defensively in terms of like legitimately being able to guard 1 through 5. But I put like a better shot blocking or protecting version of like a Bam. You kind of get what I mean. That tier of just defensive force, uh, solid offensive player, nothing crazy, but solid offensive player can get you, 18, 19, 20 a game. So we'll see with Alex Sarr. The verdict's out. This is an interesting prospect at 3. This is Reed Shepherd going to the Rockets. I I did not know that this guy was hitting like 52% of his threes. That is crazy to me. And, a lot of those threes are self-created, a lot of those are catch and shoot, a lot of those are whatever. He's got a very interesting, just shot chart and shot diet. I think that I really oh shit, Reed Shepard. But yeah, I really think that this dude is going to be a very good player. At the worst, he's just going to be a very viable role player who's going to knock down some perimeter three or perimeter shots and be able to guard. I don't know if at his height and size, if he'll ever translate to be some elite defender at the next level. But he did show me, like I think he averaged 2.5 steals. Really doesn't mind getting a little bit physical. Like he did show at least that he cared to put in effort on that end, which is something that you typically do not get from guards of his certain skill set. I believe I compared him to a two-way Darius Garland because of the dribble pull-up threes, the ability to operate out of the pick and roll. He looks very comfortable. This is a guy who can play on the ball, play off the ball. I think the Rockets really like him. Obviously, they got the ball in the hands of a Fred VanVleet, a Jalen Green at times, and then he'll have it as well. But he's just gonna fit right in. Get them some more spacing, some more shooting. So expect him to play some solid minutes for Houston, and I'm pretty high on Reed Shepard. I think he'll be a pretty good player at the next level. Now we get the Spurs taking Stephon Castle at 4. Predictable. I think that it was pretty well documented and reported that this is the guy that the Spurs were looking at. And I think this works, but I do think, and I don't have much to say about the Spurs, especially what they did here at 8, which we'll get to, but I do think this guy right here, Ron Holland, in terms of point guards, I think ceiling-wise, I'm the highest on him. I really do. Now, floor is lower than Reed Shepard, but ceiling is higher than all the guards for me because I think more so than Stephon Castle, he has a higher chance of panning out his jumper. This guy's very comfortable like in the mid range and shooting these like pull back, snatch back jumpers and step backs. Obviously, he can really operate with the ball in his hands. Pass it. He's a big like what is he 6'5", 6'6" guard. He's going to be able to defend. Um, I do like Stephon Castle, but I was higher on Ron Holland. The issue I have with the Pistons drafting Ron Holland is you already have Cade Cunningham, and to a lesser extent, Jaden Ivey. So now I'm just wondering, what position are you going to put this guy? Because the Pistons, they need spacers, they need shooting. You don't need another ball handler. You already have Cade Cunningham. I'm so confused on do they plan to put Ron Holland at the 2? Do they want to move Cade over to the 2? Because Ron Holland in his rookie season, at least, he's not going to be able to hit perimeter shots. So I'm not sure if I love him off the ball. This is a guy who's very comfortable with the ball in his hands. I just feel like a different team, like a Spurs, even like a Wizard, which obviously the Wizards weren't going to take him at 2, but just something else is what I imagine for Ron Holland other than sharing a backcourt with Cade. And that's even if he does start day one with Jaden Ivey, which, I mean, verdict's out on that. We'll see. I really don't know what they have in mind, but I feel like I'm not offended by this pick in terms of like just picking Ron Holland because I do think he's probably the best available. Well, we'll get to who I think is the best available, but he's the best available guard here probably. But I don't think they needed a guard, so I'm just interested to see what they end up doing with them. I really am. The Hornets drafted Tijane Salone or Salone. I really don't know how to pronounce his name. I did watch some of his film as well. This is a good pick. This is a good player. This is a big, versatile wing. He runs the floor well. He can shoot. He's going to play defense. He's the perfect guy to play off a LaMelo ball. And I'm just hoping LaMelo has a healthy season going into next year because I really do think with LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, now Tijane, and then you got Mark Williams. I do think that these guys can be competitive next season, more specifically in the East, and maybe make some noise at trying to get that 10 seed, get into the play-in, which is about the best that they can hope for as a franchise as currently constructed. Unless Brandon Miller just takes some large leap and now you got an all-star backcourt. I like Tijane, and I think he's going to fit right in. I think this is a smart pick by the Hornets. Hopefully they stay healthy and we can see what they're capable of going into next season. But expect him to definitely play some heavy minutes on the wing. At least you would think. Don't put Grant Williams in there. Nobody wants to see that. At number 7, we have the Trailblazers drafting Donovan Clingan. I think he was projected to go in the top 5, go a little bit earlier. I'm gonna be honest with you. From what I've seen, I'm just not high on Donovan Clingan, and maybe those are words I'll live to regret. I just don't see it. I don't see much offensive upside, and yeah, sure he can block some shots, protect the rim. That's fine. I didn't see him like comfortable in the post. I'm not in love with his game. I'm not in love, and I just think I'm confused as well with the Blazers and what they're doing. Are they looking to move Aiden? Are they just going to bring Clingan off the bench? Ease him in. I could picture a guy like Aiden clashing with a lottery pick being drafted at his position and just being disgruntled maybe if they're having to like split minutes, 24 minutes apiece or 28 and 20. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how comfortable DeAndre Ayton's going to be with this move. Also, again, the Blazers did trade for Denny Avdia from the Wizards. I'm interested in what the Blazers are doing just because. What are they doing with Jeremy Grant? Are they shopping him? They would have to be, right? I haven't heard any Jeremy Grant news. But you would think they're shopping him if they've brought in Denny. And, obviously they draft Clingan. They got a lot of young guys. And not that Jeremy Grant's old or anything, but it doesn't fit their timeline with the Shaden Sharp and whatnot, Scoot Henderson. So, interesting pick. I'm interested to see what the Blazers do. At number 8, it's interesting because in reality, and the Spurs drafted Rob Dillingham for the Wolves. Ended up trading him for one, I believe, their 2031 unprotected pick and another like pick swap or something like that. In reality, if you just like take it at face value, you're trading Rob Dillingham's going to come off the bench for the Timberwolves for basically 2 first round picks, which sounds fine. But do they really not think they could have gotten anybody here at 8? Especially because like I'm not a fan of Keldon Johnson. I think they should move off of him. I like this young core of they got Stephon Castle now, Devin Vassell, and obviously Victor Wembanyama. Why wouldn't you pair like another wing with? I think there were wings here, and we'll get to it. But I think there's wings here, and I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel like they could have used this pick. But to speak on Rob Dillingham and what the Wolves have going, obviously the Wolves need some more, shot creators, perimeter spacers, and shooting. This is a fine pick. I'm just very interested because obviously we know the Wolves going forward for foreseeable future, they're going to be in contention. I wonder how much Rob can play in the playoffs. Regular season, fine. Come off the bench, be our sixth man, be a spark plug. Do what you do. You're going to be able to have a ball in your hands. No one off the bench can really consistently create offense for themselves and others. They've got, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kyle Anderson, Naz Reid, all these guys. So, second unit, ball will be in Rob's hands. And then obviously he's going to get minutes with the first unit as well, kind of subbing in for Mike Conley probably. But I'm interested in seeing the playoffs just schematically if he can play because of obviously defensive purposes. And we know the defensive, just masterpiece that the Wolves put on this past season. I don't know if Rob can contribute to that in a playoff setting. Actually, in fact, I know he can't. So we'll see what the trade-off is. We'll see if they kind of have the philosophy of, okay, we can have one negative defender out here as long as we've got these other 4 guys who can really guard because we need Rob's creation. Expect them to have an inefficient rookie season because although he will be coming off the bench, I'm not sure how simplified his role will be strictly because, again, I do expect him to have a ball in his hands in the second unit. And he's going to go through some growing pains, right? He's going to have to really just shoulder and carry the second unit offense, make all the decisions, operate out of the pick and roll. He's going to have a solid rookie season, but in terms of efficiency, I wouldn't expect too much there. But it's interesting for the Wolves. And again, I don't know why the Spurs didn't see fit to draft any of these upcoming guys that we're going to end up getting into. At number 9, the Grizzlies shock everyone, draft Zach Edey. Obviously, we know about the concerns with Edey as a prospect, slow-footed, not much offensive game in terms of perimeter play. Of course, he's a big body. He's gonna be able to dunk the ball, finish inside. With a guy like Ja Morant, a guy like Zach Edey does clog the paint, but obviously they got Zach Edey because the Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5 thing, it isn't working. Jaren Jackson struggling to rebound, and this is another thing we saw with Team USA, right? Just really struggling to hold down that position and hit the glass, close out possessions. Jaren Jackson isn't the most physical player in the post. So now you bring in a very capable big man in terms of just the physicality standpoint, right? He's going to be able to, hit the boards, grab some rebounds, block some shots. He's obviously going to be in a very simplified role because the Grizzlies are going to be very good this coming season. They're going to be a top 6 seed. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to have Ja Morant back. I heard they're either shopping Marcus Smart or the Rockets are targeting Marcus Smart. I'm not sure how much of a two-way street that is, but if they do trade, Marcus Smart or something to bring a Dillon Brooks back, it's just back to the same thing they were before, which is fine. Desmond Bane, obviously, like I said, Jaren Jackson Jr. And then they really got to see, Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams, I believe is his name. A lot of these guys just had a good season this past season and showed that they can play some minutes. They're going to be very competent. And Zach Edey's not going to play 35, 32, 30 minutes a game. I expect him to play, in 5 to 6 minute stints and provide what he provides, and that'll be all. I do think that they should invest in another center with kind of a different skill set in terms of like spacing and whatnot, but also being able to crash the glass because I just don't like Jaren Jackson at the five. So we'll see. Like in 3 4 minute stints, that's fine, but yeah, Jaren Jackson just he's struggling rebounding. So I get why they kind of went for Zach Edey here. I think that's fine. We'll see how it plays out. At number 10, the Jazz draft Cody Williams. Of course, this is the younger brother of NBA player J-Dub, Jalen Williams on the OKC Thunder. I'm going to be honest. I'm not high on Cody Williams. I'm not. I don't like his. It was the ball handling. He looked a little awkward just handling the ball and creating his own shot. That being said, this is a very efficient player. I think it was crazy. He was like 55% from the field, 41% from three, something just crazy like that. Hyper efficient player. Obviously, like the volume wasn't crazy, but still in yet. Just putting up that level of efficiency in college just shows he's a very poised, collected, just smart players. And I think he'll fit alongside some of those guys on the Jazz. I think he'll play heavy minutes. In terms of like ceiling, though, I'm not like extremely high on him. I think he's just going to be a very, very good role player. Play some defense, can switch out on the perimeter, knock down his shots, and that's all you need sometimes, and that's perfectly fine. But the pick I really want to look into and really discuss here, and there's two teams that I think got away with steals here in this first round. The Bulls is one of them. They get to draft the hometown kid, Matas Buzelis, at 11. There is no way he should have fell to 11. There is 0% chance Matas Buzelis fell to 11. I genuinely can't believe it. I really can't. I really can't. Obviously, we know his name was tied to the Pistons because they needed like wings and stuff. But then there was also question marks of like, perimeter shooting and stuff, which is something the Pistons are lacking in with how much Matas kind of struggled with his jumper in the G League. Ignite kind of created some question marks there. But then you go and draft Ron Holland, who's not a perimeter threat too much right now at this very moment himself. So it's just weird that the Pistons wouldn't take Matas here. It's weird that the Spurs wouldn't take Matas, and I'm just going to be very upfront and very blunt. I do believe at the bare minimum, Matas is the best wing in this draft, and if I'm being honest, when I made that video that I was referencing earlier, I was the highest on him out of everyone in this draft. And maybe that's crazy, maybe that's prophetic, I don't know. But this guy he's measured at I think like 6'8" at the draft. He's gonna play at 6'10", in shoes and whatnot. He's very athletic. He's very quick for a guy that big. He's so quick on the wing. As a forward, he averaged 2 blocks per game, which is crazy to me. He shows some weak side rim protection ability. He can guard on the ball. I think he's going to develop into a very versatile defensive wing. Will ever be absolute, pure clamps and lockdown? Maybe, maybe not. But he's definitely going to be active on the defensive end. I think the absolute worst this guy can be is like a Jonathan Kuminga, right? Just super athletic forward, kind of streaky with his defense and can, hit some jumpers here and there, but really just wants to get downhill and attack the basket. I think at his best, that's the absolute worst he can be, like his floor. I'm very high on this guy. I think at his best, he can be a better defensive, more athletic version of a Franz Wagner. Which, if we're talking like ceiling and best player in the draft, maybe that doesn't sound crazy, but I mean, I think that'd be pretty good. For him, it's going to be getting his shots up, working on his jumper, and making sure that he can consistently, hit some perimeter shots. Because again, going to the cup, creating his own shot, like he's comfortable out there on the wing. He can catch some lobs. He's going to be a threat in transition. I really like Matas Buzelis. I think he should be starting this coming season for the Bulls. Obviously, the Bulls traded for Josh Giddey, so expecting their lineup to be Josh Giddey, Kobe White, DeMar DeRozan, Matas Buzelis, and then Nikola Vucevic. Defensively, that lineup is not it. I think Matas, even as a rookie, is like your most viable defensive option there, like in that whole starting lineup. Obviously, you got I off the bench, you got Patrick Williams. They're gonna try and fight for a 10 seed. Obviously, Zach LaVine is still on the roster. I think most of us are expecting him to get traded. So, with the trade of Zach LaVine, for me, if I'm them, definitely looking at filling out my defense in specifically the backcourt, but also the front court as well. Getting a good like backup big, play some defense because we know Vucevic is not going to do so. But yeah, this is a match made in heaven for the Bulls. They get to draft the hometown kid at 11. There's definitely not 10 prospects in this draft better than him. So yeah, I'm very. This is one of the two just major steals that I noticed when I saw the draft. Very interesting that he fell that far. Now the Thunder draft Nikola Topic. This is via I forget who. I forget. It wasn't the Rockets, was it? It wasn't the Clippers. I forget who it was, but somebody drafted Nikola Topic for the Thunder. The only reason he fell this far is because he does have a partially torn ACL, and it's expected that he'll miss all of next season, which I'm not sure because again, it's only a partially torn ACL, and I'm not sure how long of a recovery process that is. But even like with rookies, a lot of the time, like you miss training camp, right? You miss summer league. Even if you do sustain an injury that technically you could return mid-season, they'll just rather sit you out the whole season, let you get some workouts and let you develop, maybe even let you play in the G League and whatnot. But I'm very curious to see if he'll even be able to play this coming season. That being said, fully healthy, he's not the 12th best prospect in this draft. He's going higher as well. And this is just a steal by OKC because they don't need the 12th pick to help them contend right now. They are contenders. Obviously, we know about the move for Alex Caruso. Him and Dort are going to be hell on the defensive end of the basketball. Shai's going to perform as one of the top 5 best players. And again, if they're toward the top of the Western standings, which they will be, Shai will find himself in MVP talks yet again, having just finished as the runner-up. Expect Chet and J-Dub to take leaps. OKC is going to be very dangerous, and I think adding Topic in, what would that be then? The 26th season? Oh, it's going to be crazy. You're getting a guard off the bench that can run the offense, is really going to get to the paint and finish at a high level. The verdict's out on in terms of defensive ability and whatnot. I think Nikola Topic is like 6'5", 6'6". Good size. I really like this pickup. I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's one of the best guards in this draft. Better than like a Rob Dillingham. Better than. We'll see. But yeah, I like Nikola Topic for sure. And I know the Spurs were like eyeing him like months ago, and then again he ends up with the partially torn ACL. So kind of unfortunate, but fortunate for the Thunder. At 13, the Kings get Devin Carter. I believe I compared this guy to like a Derek White. For sure. Because this is a guy who's going to put up just all across the board. He's going to put up some production. He's an elite shooter. Okay, so he's going to be able to knock down his threes. He can play off the ball. He can play on ball. He's fine. They come from the pick and roll. I think he averaged 8 rebounds as a guard. And he's like 6'3", I want to say, or something. 6'4", maybe. He averaged like 8 rebounds in college. So he's attacking the glass. He's playing very good defense. This is just a good player right here. You're gonna get a little bit of everything. I think the Kings will fall in love with this guy. I think he's gonna find himself playing a lot of minutes. I think he's better than Davion Mitchell, like day one, to be honest with you. But we'll see. And I say that just because of consistently being able to hit perimeter shots while also being a defensive guard. Again, he's going to crash the glass. Just a good pick. I like Devin Carter. Now, again, in my video where I kind of covered these prospects, I really only went over the lottery. And so, like a lot of these guys, I really like. I've heard of Isaiah Collier, I've heard of Ryan Dunn, I think I've heard of Terrence Shannon Jr. I can't really give insight and analysis on their game. I don't know who Bub Carrington is. He wasn't projected to be a lottery pick, but the Blazers drafted him for the Wizards. So good for you, buddy. You get to go to Washington. Um, but this is the where's it at? Actually, let's talk about. I know he's under the guy that I'm going to talk about next, but let's start with Jacoby Walter. He's a bucket, simply put. I think he was projected to go into the lottery from at least the mock draft that I saw. Raptors got them a solid player. He's going to get some buckets for sure, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that. That guy's a bucket. He's going to finish at the cup, hit perimeter shots, can put the ball in his hands, can play off the ball. That's fine. And now I want to get to Dalton. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It's either Connect, Necht, Necky. I don't know. I don't need to pronounce his last name to know if this dude is a bucket. An absolute bucket. I have no idea how he felt at 17. The Lakers got a steal almost as big as Mott's falling to 11. This is crazy. There is no shot that Dalton should have been available here at this pick. And it's obviously just because of age, right? He's already 23. But for a team like the Lakers who are expecting to contend now, whether they're true contenders or not, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, they feel they're contenders. That's all that matters. And so do they want to take a chance on an 18, 19-year-old player? Probably not. And so it's just perfect that a guy like Dalton, who can come in day one and contribute to your cause, is available at this pick. Knockdown shooter, sneaky athletic, got some size at the guard position. He can play the 2, can play the 3. I really like this pickup for the Lakers, and especially now with J.J. Redick as your coach, right? A guy who came out of college as a sharpshooter. It was reported that apparently, like, literally the second they drafted Dalton, J.J.'s in the war room just drawing up some out of timeout plays for him and some pin down sets. J.J.'s going to maximize this guy's potential for sure. And again, 23, ready to contribute to a team that's ready to compete right now. This is just a very good pickup. And obviously the Lakers bench, not too amazing, right? So he's going to get minutes. He's going to contribute right away. I think he spaces the floor for LeBron and AD, which is something that obviously they need. I'm interested to see what the Lakers do with D'Angelo Russell if they plan on bringing him back because, yeah, I mean, once that domino falls or doesn't fall, I think we can make a final verdict on what we see the Lakers doing this upcoming season. Obviously, we still have an off season. We still have free agency. So a lot of these teams are going to fill out their rosters in different ways. Maybe some of these picks will look worse. Maybe some of these picks will look better based off of the decisions made in free agency. But yeah, I mean, this is just an absolute steal for the Lakers. Still for the Bulls. I think these are the two winners of this draft. The Hawks, I like Zach Caruso. I do. I think, floor-wise, he's less of a risk than, a lot of these guys. Upside-wise, you can't tell me he has a higher upside than Amatis Buzelis. You can't tell me he has a higher upside than Asar, Castle, Holland. I just don't see – I don't see it. And Kaishan George fell pretty far. Drafted by the Knicks, traded to the Wizards as well. So the Wizards, again, are winners of this draft as well, strictly because I think a lot of people expect Alex Sarr to be kind of the best prospect of this class. They got a couple other guys, Bub Carrington, whoever that is, Kaishan George. He's a very good player. It's interesting stuff. Also, I saw the Nuggets did get Deron Holmes. Interesting. I actually didn't see this. Wizards draft Dylan Jones, and he's traded to the Thunder via Knicks. Interesting. Just okay seeing Sam Presti doing what they do. But, yeah, I mean, overall, let me know what you guys thought of the draft, at least the first round. Again, the second round is later today. I know everyone's kind of just waiting, anticipating for Bronny James to get drafted. He'll get drafted. he's gonna get drafted. Whether it's the Suns or the Lakers, one of those teams are gonna draft him. The Suns are thinking, hey, if we can draft Bronny, we can lure LeBron. The Lakers are thinking, if we can draft Bronny, we secure LeBron staying here for X amount of years. About those politics. Second round, I probably won't make a video on it just because I'm definitely not familiar with many of those prospects, and most of those guys probably won't, pan out to be anything crazy. But there's always a sleeper in the second round, so good luck to those guys on getting drafted. I'm sure at least a couple of them will be able to contribute, if not this coming season, in the next couple of years. But yeah, I mean, that's basically just my thoughts on this year's draft. Interested to see with free agency coming up how a lot of these teams again build around these moves. Interested to see what trades are coming up. Obviously, we have Paul George and Warriors rumors. We have Zach LaVine getting traded feels like an inevitability at this point. I think the Nets are still shopping some of their players. They're looking to go into a complete tank, so expect maybe a Ben Simmons. Maybe they keep Cam Thomas, but I don't know. I don't know how far they're willing to go in terms of just absolutely dumping everyone. I know they re-signed Claxton, or at least either they re-signed Claxton or they're on the cusp of it. But I think it was like $100 million for 4 years, something like that. Lots of team, obviously the Lakers, in the show that they're gonna definitely make some aggressive moves. Lots of stuff to come this offseason. Very excited to see what happens. Let me know what you thought of the draft. Let me know what you think of some of these prospects. What prospect do you think will be the best player out of this draft? Me personally, I think it's Matas Buzelis. And again, that's something that in 3 years I'm going to look back and be like, what were you thinking? Or in 3 years, I'm going to be like, hey, I told y'all. 11, that's crazy. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here. Go ahead and like the video. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel. Content coming out, every other day, every day, whatever. Just trying to consistently drop some more videos for you guys. Next video will more likely to not be a tier list, which is typically what I'm doing on this channel, of course. But yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'm out.